Good evening, gents. How you all doing? Welcome to tonight's event. Build muscle, burn fat, optimize your hormones, and feel fucking fantastic as you get older. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to cover a couple of main areas of what I do with my clients and how that could benefit you, but I'm open to open Q&A throughout the whole of this process. So if you want to ask a question, drop your question into the chat. More than happy to answer that as we go along. If it's too detailed, I'll try and do things at the end, but I want to stick to what I want to show you. But I want to say welcome to all of you. For those that are coming on live, if you're watching the recording, didn't get a chance to make it on live, welcome. Hope you enjoy what we're going to talk about tonight. But this is really what we're going to focus on, guys. How to build muscle, burn fat, optimize your hormones, and feel fucking fantastic as you're older. This stuff's important. So drop your name into the chat. Obviously, you're going to come up, say where you're from, where in the world you're saying hello from, and then we'll get some conversation going. And I hope everyone's getting ready for Christmas. I know this is probably one of the worst weeks in terms of diet and exercise for a lot of people, but actually for me it's busy time. Lots of clients joining the program, lots of people thinking about their fat loss as we move into the new year. And reminds me, I've got an apology to make. I brought a swanky new camera, a wicked new blogging camera, cost me best part of a lot of money, I won't tell you how much, to use for tonight's presentation, and I couldn't connect it to my Mac. Couldn't connect it, so I apologize if the quality of this video is not as good as it should be. I'm using the Mac camera. This would have been amazing. The next time I do this, I'll make sure it's absolutely on, ready to roll. The quality will be so much better, and I can end up using the video and chopping it into little segments. At the moment, we'll just have to make do with the Mac. So look, I see a couple of you coming on. If you want to say hi, come into the chat, ask me any questions, let me know where you are, where you're watching from, and we can take it from there. All right, guys, so this is what we're going to focus on today, and what I call the fat loss code. And these are the main areas that I cover in my program with my clients. We're going to look at setting the foundations and what I call the mechanical side of body fat. That's the skill set that's needed. Okay, without this, without setting the foundations, without the skill set, which is very, very simple, skill set of losing body fat is very, very simple. We have to have those foundations in place. Then we're going to look at what I call building a bulletproof mindset, developing a strong mind. And then we look at sleep, stress management, and the taboo subject, sex and testosterone. Okay, anyone there? Anyone want to say hi? Okay, so what do I mean by setting the foundations? Well, there's this, as I said before, the skill set to losing body fat is very, very simple, but it's very, very tricky for a lot of people because almost the simplicity in it, the fact that it is so simple, holds a lot of people back. And I'll explain the two things that we have to have for actually the one mechanism, the only mechanism that we lose body fat is by being in a calorie deficit. And simply this, a calorie deficit is where you consume more calories than you burn. And there's three phases of fat loss, really. There's a calorie deficit. There's what we call maintenance, where you're neither gaining weight or losing weight, calorie maintenance, and then a calorie surplus. And this is where you're going to gain weight. And it's simple as this. Even if someone's training very, very hard, they're eating healthy and they're sleeping well and their stress levels are low, if they're not losing weight and they're trying to, ultimately it comes down to one thing: they're not in a calorie deficit. So we know 100% that it's a simple mathematical equation. You have to be in a deficit to lose body fat, which means you have to track your calories. The first thing I look at with my clients is, do you have any idea of the amount of calories that you're bringing into your body from food or drink? And the reality is most people have got no clue. I had a conversation with a couple of clients today, actually. They've just come into my program. And I said to them, if I give you a £5 note right now, do you know how much that's worth, the value of that £5 Of course, everyone knows that $5, whatever your currency is, you know that you can go to the supermarket and you can buy X amount for £5, $5. If you give that £5 to a 5-year-old, they know that they could probably exchange it for some sweets or something, but they've got no value of that currency in the real market, in reality. And that's basically what people do when they try and lose body fat. They've got no idea of the calories that they're eating. Okay, they've got no idea. They're totally unconscious of the amount of calories they're taking in. And they know that they're probably eating too much because that's why they're trying to lose weight. So they take a number that they don't know and they reduce it to another number that they don't know. Okay, and they know that they're probably not exercising that much, so they take a number that they don't know in terms of calories being burnt with exercise, and they increase it to another number they don't know, and they try and gauge from there. And guess what? They lose weight, but it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable because they don't know the numbers. They've maybe dropped their calories too low, they may be exercising too much, and guess what? A lot of people tend to lose weight when they first go on a diet or any sort of traditional eating or exercise plan, but very often it goes back. Very often they put the weight back on and then some, which over time, when you do the yo-yo dieting, lose weight, gain weight, lose 20 pounds, gain 20 pounds, yo-yo dieting, you've all heard that. That's actually very, very dangerous for the metabolism. Well, not necessarily dangerous for the metabolism, but it can affect the metabolism, so you're not as efficient at burning body fat. Okay, so that's what most people do. They've got no clue what they're taking in. They've got no clue what they're burning. So how the hell would they have an efficient way of burning body fat? They just don't. They just don't. So we have to know the numbers. We have to track. Okay, that's the first thing I get my clients to do. Let's look at what you're taking in. We're going to set their calories at a certain amount. We're going to put our stake in the sand and say, let's hit this for 2 weeks. And someone says, well, how do I know if I'm in a calorie deficit? Simply this. If over the first 1 or 2 weeks they start to lose a few pounds, we know that they're in a calorie deficit one way or another. Okay, we know. And if they're not losing weight, we know that by definition, they're not in a calorie deficit. And that could come down to maybe the calories are too high, maybe they're not recording as diligently as they could be, possibly, and maybe they're lying about their intake. So we need to look at all three things before we make some radical changes. So we need to know what's coming in, then we can track roughly what's going out, whether they're walking, whether they're going to the gym, dancing, swimming, any exercise they're doing. We can know. But here's the key. We have to be in a calorie deficit because that's the mechanism that we all lose body fat, regardless of what diet you go on, whether it's high carb, low carb, high protein, keto, South Beach, you're a vegan, carnivore, it doesn't make any difference. You only lose body fat by being in a calorie deficit. It's the one mechanism that has to be in place for you to lose body fat. Okay, so that we know. Now, what I also tell people is, most people think that they go to the gym to burn calories. Now, there's no doubt you burn calories when you go to gym. That is the truth. Okay, you burn calories when you go to the gym, but that's not what you go to the gym for. Okay, let me explain. It's burning calories at the gym is a byproduct of you going to the gym. You go to the gym to improve performance, get stronger, build muscle, improve cardio, endurance, fitness. All the different things. You go to the gym for a purpose. You don't go to the gym to burn calories. But let's say you went to the gym 7 days a week, 1 hour, 7 days a week. And by the way, you don't have to do that amount of exercise to get great results. But let's say you did. You're very into the gym. You burn X amount of calories in that 1 hour. Think about this. Take away 6 to 8 hours when most people are sleeping. It leaves about 15 hours of your metabolism, and your metabolism, 95% of the calories you burn, it takes place over the whole 24-hour period. So there's more calories burnt when you're not in the gym than there is in the gym. Okay, and very often if people have a massive session, they tend to do less in the next 23 hours, and they'll sit down more, they'll fidget less. So first thing I want my clients to do is track your calories, know what's coming in, and increase your step count. So a lot of my clients come to me and they've not moved for a decade or two. And I know some of you are thinking, really? But many guys in their late 40s or 50s have not, been to the gym, and they've sat on their ass for a couple of decades. Oh, just quickly, there's a few people coming in there. Okay, cool. There's John from New Zealand. Just want to say hi. And Peter. You want to do an offer with me for Cure Royalty campaign January? Oh, okay, cool. Peter, we'll have another chat. Welcome, chaps, welcome. You just popped up on my screen, just threw me a little bit. So very often people are sitting on their arse for a couple of decades, just getting them to increase the step count for the day. And that could be I actually get my clients to do between 5,000 and 10,000 steps per day. It's about a 30 to 45-minute walk. And that could be in one go or several goes, but playing with the kids more, taking the dog for a walk, cleaning the car, getting off a tube stop earlier, walking instead of taking the bus, to taking the stairs instead of the lift or the elevator, however way you slice it. Just by generally increasing overall movement, controlling calories is enough to create that deficit. And then also the perceived level of exertion is very, very low because they haven't even put their trainers on. They haven't gone to the gym. They haven't done a planned exercise session. So what we know, there's a term that I want you guys to know, and you may have heard about this if you've seen some of my stuff. I've talked about this very often. NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And these are calories that are burnt when you're not in the gym, when you don't go to the gym. And that's 23 hours of the day if you're going. So most of your metabolism is based up of the calories you burn when you're not in the gym. Think about that. So don't go to the gym to burn calories, even though you do burn calories at the gym. That's not what we go for. That's not what we go for, or go for other reasons. So there's the first thing. We want to set the foundations, and the foundations are getting someone into a calorie deficit, controlling the calories this side, increasing step count, and that can come from the gym, dancing, swimming, all those different things that we've talked about, as well as general movement. That way we can create that calorie deficit. Now, there's 4 or 5 things that I believe that most diets don't have. Most diets tend to fail, and that you need to have some sort of sustainability and longevity to have some real long-lasting weight loss. Okay, because losing weight is one thing. Anyone can help someone lose weight, but can they maintain it? Can they sustain it? Can they keep the weight off for the rest of their life? That's the aim. The aim is never to put that weight back on again. No one loses 30 pounds and wants to put 30 pounds back on. They want to keep it off. Very often they put it back on, but that's not the aim. So how do we do that? We need to have 4 or 5 things. 1, you don't want to eliminate carbohydrates or alcohol. Okay? Anyone that says you need to do that to lose weight is talking out their arse, quite frankly. It's not necessary. Now, if someone's drinking 100 units a week, is it wise from a health perspective to massively reduce that? Of course. And are they going to lose body fat drinking 100 units a week? No, they're not, because they're just going to be taking in far too many empty calories. But if someone's having, 2 or 3 drinks twice a week, do they need to eliminate that to lose body fat? No. So the devil's in the dose. So when someone says eliminate all booze for a period of 12 weeks, it's just not necessary. And that's not to say I tell clients to go and start drinking. If they don't drink, go and start drinking because Gav said you can. No, I'm just saying if you like a couple of drinks over Christmas, New Year, the weekends, there's no reason why you can't have that into your calorie allowance for the day, for the week, for the month, and it won't cause too many problems. Okay. So don't cut alcohol out if you like a drink. Don't eliminate carbohydrates or sugar. It's just not necessary. Low carb, high carb, if calories are matched and protein is matched, fat loss will be the same. So you do not need to eliminate carbohydrates. First reason. Second reason, you've got to enjoy your meals. If you're not enjoying your meals, you're not going to stick to it. Okay, it's another obstacle in the way. It's like, oh God, I've got to eat this rabbit food. It's not going to last for 12 weeks for a period of much further than 12 weeks, could be 24 weeks, could be a year. Some of my clients are going to need to work at what they need to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 kilos. It's not going to be done in 12 weeks. Okay. So you've got to enjoy the foods. Third, it can't be any different to the rest of the family. Okay. If your wife or husband or children are eating completely different diet and food to you, it's another obstacle that will stop you eventually. Assuming you're at work and maybe the wife's cooking food, or it could be the other way around, don't want to appear sexist, but let's say you come home and the missus is cooking you dinner and she has to cook you this special food and the children are eating something different. Good luck with that. How long is that going to last? It's not going to last very long. So I teach people to eat exactly the same as everyone else in the house, just controlling the calories. Okay. So it's got to be not eliminate anything from the diet. It's got to be fun. You've got to enjoy it. Can't be any different from the rest of the family 4, can you see yourself doing this for 12 weeks? And if you can't, you shouldn't be doing it now. Okay. And the 5th one, the big one, can you see yourself doing this for 12 months, 12 years? Because that's the only way that you're going to keep a significant amount of weight off. Losing weight's one thing, but you're going to keep it off. And it all comes down to the activities and your habits. And your habits are only going to solidify and stay where they are and be put in place if you're doing things like I just mentioned. Now, most diets don't do that. They reduce the calories far too much, increase exercise. It's not sustainable. It's food that you don't enjoy, you don't eat. You're on this special training program, you're on this special diet, and everyone's like, why are you eating this? And well, this guru told me that's what I should do to lose body fat. It will work. I'm not saying that these things don't work. They do work. Of course they do. People lose weight, but are they sustainable? Look, people say, Gav, why you got such a downer against keto? I've got nothing against the ketogenic diet. And for those that don't understand the ketogenic diet, it really comes down to keeping carbs fairly low. Well, I say fairly low, very low, usually between under 20 grams of carb per day, which is an apple is about 20 grams of carbs. So it's very, very low carbohydrate, and increasing the protein a lot and running off fats. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. And it still works in the same mechanism as every other diet by being in a calorie deficit. That's the only way you work. Even if you're ketogenic or in ketosis, it's still only lose body fat by being in a calorie deficit. The reason I'm not a fan of keto is because it's just not sustainable for most people. Some love it. And if you love it and you can see yourself not eating carbs for the rest of your life, absolutely go for it. So if you think about this, any diet, or the best diet that you can be on is the one you can stay on the longest. And that's it. That you enjoy, you stay on the longest, and you're in a calorie deficit. So there's 1,000 diets out there, and they all work by one mechanism, by being in a calorie deficit. So choose the one that works for you. So there's nothing wrong with keto, but I just don't like it because it's not sustainable for most people. And most people are like my clients that like carbohydrates, like to have a drink, like to enjoy some of the things that keto just doesn't allow them to have. Okay, so there's the foundations. That's the first one I want to talk about. So, second part is developing a strong mind or a bulletproof mindset. And what do I mean by developing a bulletproof mindset? Well, as I said, the first part is what I call the skill set, the mechanics of losing body fat. You have to have the skill set in place. You have to have the mechanics in place. Calorie deficit, increasing step count to achieve that calorie deficit, and those 5 things that help people stay in that calorie deficit whilst enjoying themselves. That's a given. Let's assume that's a given. Now, the reason people can't stay there is because they don't develop the psychological aspect of fat loss. There's 2 parts, the mechanical, the psychological, and the psychological is what lets people down. And this is a big thing that I focus on my coaching and this comes down to things like a little bit of motivation to get started, sure, but discipline. Can you be disciplined? Self-image. Very often, clients that have had a lot of weight to lose and have struggled with their weight for a year, couple of years, a decade or 2, their self-image is poor. Okay, so it means their self-confidence is shot to bits. Their self-esteem is very, very low. And what often this means is there's a doubt that they ever will lose weight. They look at themselves and say, well, maybe this is my genetics. Maybe this is just the way it's meant to be. Maybe this is my lot. Okay? And that's just not true. It's a bullshit story that we tell ourselves. Okay? And very often when someone's got some negative self-beliefs about their belief around losing weight, they self-sabotage because it's never going to work anyway. So they'll try for a couple of weeks, and then when they fail because they're using a shitty plan or they can't stick to it because they haven't got the right systems in place, they then say, see, it was never going to work. I'm a failure. I can't do this. Maybe I'm destined to be fat. It's just not true. Unless you were born massively overweight and no one was, you're not destined to be overweight, despite your shitty genetics. If you think you've got shitty genetics, you can still get to the perfect weight that you want to be and stay there. You're just doing the wrong things. Okay? Mindset, skill set in place. We have to work on the mindset. So building a bulletproof mindset is looking at all of those things and smashing through that glass ceiling and telling people that is not the truth. This is not what you believe. Don't believe all your own thoughts. Like, it's a story that's been programmed into us. from school, from parents. Unfortunately, they've done the best they could, but it's not always the best outcome. Environment, the book you've read, the things you've watched on the TV, the people you hang around with, very often they've caused you to have these issues about something. Trauma, abuse, mental, sexual, physical, emotional abuse causes people to have these psychological barriers when it comes to losing weight. And that's a whole nother ball game. We could do a webinar entirely on that. I'm not going to go down that route too far. And by no means am I an expert on the abuse side of things. But what I do know is that abuse on all levels causes many of my clients to have this limited self-belief about whether they can lose body fat or not. Okay, so we look at that, we focus on that, and without going into too much depth, we say, look, this is just not the case. It's not the truth. But rather than trying to fix that, let's fix on some of the basics and focus on having a plan that works, because most people that go on a diet just don't have a plan that works. They just don't have a plan that works. You know, often people are trying things that just don't work, things that they're not in a calorie deficit. You can work out every day of the week. You can be eating healthy. You can be sleeping well, have low stress, but if you're not in a calorie deficit, you won't lose body fat. So one, you have to do that, but then you have to have the psychological aspect of this, the bulletproof mindset, the discipline, the motivation, the belief that you can lose weight and that you deserve to lose weight. I work with a lot of clients that just don't believe they deserve to be in shape. They believe they don't deserve to feel good and have great energy and a good sex life and to sleep well and to have great relationships with their spouse or their kids. Like, you'd be so very, very surprised. People come into this in very poor situations mentally, and it's not always true. Very often it's not true. Okay, so we need to fix that. We need to look at some techniques that are gonna, as I said, break through that glass ceiling. Okay, and it all often comes down to one, following the right plan and being coached to believe that this is possible. Okay, I want to touch on all of these different things. And whilst I'm here, there's just something I want to show you guys. People say, you know, what sort of testimonials you've got with working with clients. And I just wanted to show, these are some of my most recent clients and my favorite ones, and these are all in 12 weeks. You can see 22 pounds there, incredible. Steve, fantastic, isn't it? 38 pounds. Robin, 37 pounds. Mark, 33 pounds. And these are some of the guys that worked with me over the last 6 months to a year. Matt lost 30 pounds. Duncan lost 28 pounds. And videos go so on and so on and so on. And there's just loads of them. There's actually tons of these guys that I've been working with. If you want to check out these testimonials, don't just take my word from it. Go to gavgillibrand.com. Some of you will have seen my website already. Go to gavgillibrand.com and check out the testimonials. And also, what I want to offer you guys, apart from just helping you with what I actually do with my clients, if any of you want some help at any time, this is not a sales call. I want you to book a 15-minute body diagnostic call. And on this call, we'll get to the bottom. We'll go into more detail what I've talked about today. Get to the bottom of what's working, what's not working, why you're struggling with the weight. And I'll give you the things that I work with my clients. I've talked about it in the beginning, but it won't always sink in. So if you want a more personal touch, a one-to-one call with me, it's free. Go to gavgillibrand.com/apply. Book a 15-minute session. I'm working all over Christmas, apart from Christmas Day and Boxing Day, maybe New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. But book a call with me. I'll give you some answers. It's not a sales call, so keep your credit card in your pocket. It's just value, give you as much value as I can, help you out with your current situation. Right, back to where I was. So we've looked at the foundations. Right, we look at sleep. Now, this is an interesting topic. And if I'm honest, sleep is the most beneficial thing that we can do for our health. There's nothing, you know, there's exercise and there's quality nutrition and there's sleep. They're seen as the three pillars of health and fitness. I don't actually believe that they're the three pillars. I believe that sleep is the base and fitness, exercise and nutrition are the pillars on top of the base, because all things can be in line. You can be in a calorie deficit and you'll still lose weight, but you could be training, eating well, everything else in place. If your sleep's poor, it's going to affect your results. Not necessarily it's going to stop you losing body fat, but it will make the job very, very difficult. So the main thing I want to get across to you guys is sleep is a fantastic regulator for your satiety hormones. Now, you may have heard of these guys. I've talked about these a couple of times before. Leptin and ghrelin. Now, I know they sound like two characters in The Lord of the Rings, but they're not. Leptin is our satiety hormone, and it comes on, it makes us feel hungry, okay, or never satisfied, okay. Now, leptin's our hunger hormone, so it signals to you eat more. So you've got leptin and ghrelin, and both of these hormones get skewed when you have poor sleep. So poor sleep under 6 hours for a couple of days on the trot will massively wreck the amount of hormones that are being produced, and they'll skew it. So you've got one hormone that's saying you're not satisfied, you've got another hormone that's saying eat more food. Now, here's the thing. Hormones don't necessarily make you gain body fat, but they push behavior, they drive behavior. So hormones will actually tell you, your brain's telling you, I need to eat more food, I'm not satisfied, I'm still hungry. Cravings go up and you're thinking about food all day long. So is it, look, sounds stupid, but if you're trying to control the calories you take in, is it easier to be on a diet and control calories when you're not thinking about food, or when you're constantly be thinking about food? Of course, it's a lot easier when you're not thinking about food. So if we can control those hormones, it's going to be a lot easier to stick to the calories you've got for the day. So when people say, I just couldn't help it, I was starving, they don't know it's their brain telling them to overeat. So poor sleep, go and try it out. Next time you have a terrible night's sleep, I guarantee that most of you will feel more hungry the next day. You're going to feel cravings, carbohydrates, sugar, salt, and your defenses are down. When you're tired, you're like, screw it, I'll wait till next week. And very often when you've had poor sleep, you tend to want to drink because you're like, I need to unwind, I need to relax, I need to get to bed, So not only do people tend to overeat, they tend to reach for an alcoholic drink. Okay, now alcohol is another thing. In the end, it's not necessarily going to halt your fat loss, but the devil's in the dose. You've got to be very, very careful. Okay, so that's the main thing I want to get to sleep. If you're having poor sleep, it's very often going to mess with your satiety hormones. Okay, right, I see a couple of people coming on. Any questions any more? Anyone got any questions? I can see you there. No? All right, a little more about sleep. But look, what things can we do? What sort of techniques and habits can we do to get the best sleep? And what I want you to realize, it's quality over quantity. Okay? Quality over quantity. And it's going to, if you optimize sleep, it's going to improve every aspect of your health and life. So here's a few tips for getting a good night's sleep. And the first one I will look at is caffeine. Now, caffeine has a half-life of about 7 hours, which means the caffeine in your system will still be there. Half of the caffeine will still be in your system 6 hours later, 5 to 7 hours, really. So if you're a poor sleeper, this is going to cause a problem. So what I tell my clients is to not have a coffee after 2 p.m. Avoid caffeine. That could be Coke or Diet Coke, hopefully. Tea, even to a certain extent. If you're a poor sleeper, you definitely want to minimize your caffeine after 2 p.m. because it could cause a problem. Okay, that's the first thing I want to do. Now, the second tip to get a great night's sleep is, it's going to sound so simple, it's going to bed and getting up at the same time. Now, this is the best way to regulate what we call the circadian rhythm, which is our body's internal clock. Okay, going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time. Now, it's easier said than done. Most people tend to do that in the week, Monday to Friday when they've got work, but then tend to go later to bed on a weekend and tend to sleep in. But if you can, go to bed and get up at the same time, and it's the best thing for actually improving the quality of your sleep, because you're just setting that circadian rhythm, you're setting the internal body clock, and it's one of the best techniques that you can do. Third thing, you've got to keep the room cool. Okay, I think it's 19 degrees, considered optimal for most, which is probably a little bit cooler than most of you like, but it's the best temperature for a benefit for a deep sleep. Now, some people like the room a little warmer, some people like it colder actually, but the studies have shown that 90 degrees is considered optimal. Okay, so keep your room cool. Here's a big one, and I'm talking to myself. You need to eliminate all screen time 1 hour before bedtime. And look, I know it's easier said than done again, but any artificial light from a screen, from a phone, from a TV, anything, it wrecks the production of melatonin. Now, melatonin is hormone that's produced in the pineal gland, just right in the middle of the center of your head there. And it's basically switched on whenever we sense dark. When it gets dark, the body starts to release melatonin from the pineal gland to signal to the body that we need to start winding down, and makes us feel sleepy. It's just released when it gets dark. Having artificial light like this, laptop, too close to that bedtime is going to affect that. And melatonin is the hormone that's going to help you get to sleep. So avoid screen time, any screen time 1 hour before you go to bed, which means if you're going in bed at 10, you need to shut everything off by 9. Okay. Going to bed at 11, you can do the maths, shut everything off by 10. Okay. And the 5th tip I've got for you, dim your lights an hour before. So let's say you are still up doing things, just turn the lights down, because again, the body will start to release that melatonin because it thinks it's time to get ready for bed. Okay. So there's some great tips with regards to sleep. Anyone else joining us for any more questions? I know that you're there. Come on. We've got John, we've got Peter. Anyone else want to say hi? Come on, I know there. You're very shy tonight. Very, very quiet. Now, if any of you want to download a cheat sheet I've got, some of you will have this. And the areas I'm talking about are in this cheat sheet. If you actually want to have a copy of what I've been talking about in this presentation, just go ahead and email me. There's my email address, hello@gabgillibrand.com, or you can go onto my website and download a copy. But if you want a copy, just email me there. Most of the stuff that I'm talking about in this presentation is in this PDF. I think you'll find some great value from there. So drop me a line if you want that. And of course, as I said before, if you want more personal touch, you want to speak to me on a one-to-one basis, book a call. Not a sales call, pure value. I promise you're going to get some great value from this. Go to gabgillibrand.com/apply. Book a call with me. We'll spend 15 minutes looking at exactly where you are, exactly what I would do to help you, and give you a couple of steps. Some of what we talked about tonight, maybe not. There'll be some other stuff in there, but there'll be some great value. So go ahead and book a call, gabgillibrand.com/apply. Right, back to the next area. I'm going to wrap this in about 15 minutes, guys. I don't want to spend all night with you. I know you guys are busy. Okay, so we've looked at setting the foundations. Calorie deficit, increasing step count. We looked at strong mind, bulletproof mindset, and how the psychological aspect of body fat plays a huge role in helping people with some sustainability. We looked at sleep and how it can mess up your satiety hormones, your appetite, and we looked at some tips for increasing or improving your quality of sleep. What about stress and sex and testosterone? Taboo, a bit of sex and testosterone, but it's very important. Stress management. Now, this is a huge topic. I could probably spend a couple of hours just talking about stress, okay? And people say, well, I was very, very stressed and it made me gain weight. Well, first of all, stress doesn't make you gain weight and doesn't make you lose weight, but it will drive hormones again. So hormones drive behavior. So the behaviors that come from having high stress levels could cause you to gain weight. Allow me to explain. When we get stressed, and that could be from short term, chronic, long term, we release cortisol. Cortisol is in the system, that fight or flight. It depends on how you react to that. Some people, it increases the appetite. Some people, they get no appetite when they're stressed. So guess what? The people that it increases their appetite tend to overeat. So they said, oh, stress made me fat. But the only reason you gain weight is by being in a calorie surplus, and the only reason you get into a calorie surplus is by eating more. But it wasn't stress itself, but indirectly it could cause someone to overeat. I hope that makes sense. Now the opposite is true for other people. Some people lose their appetite and they tend to lose weight. So they say, oh, the stress made me lose weight, but it was nothing to do with the actual hormones and the stress itself. It was the activities that you did yourself. Did you undereat or did you overeat? Okay. But look, stress is more to that. Stress is the silent killer. Very often, mostly for men, but sometimes for women, what men don't realize, it's a fundamental part of weight loss. You know, because lack of sleep causes low sex drive, poor digestion, blood sugar imbalances, fluid retention, and even a crappy mood. Okay, so you have to get hold of your stress levels. All right, you have to control your stress levels. But look, there's loads of different ways that we can do that, and actually studies have shown that very often it's not the stress that causes people to be stressed. It's the perceived stress. So some people can see a situation and think, oh, that was very stressful to them, and how come the next person can walk on by and say, well, that wasn't stressful at all? Because it's that perception. So very often it's the perception that can either be stressful or not. So we're not going to go into too much about how to reduce stress because, as I said, that's a huge topic. But just be aware that stress, one, it's extremely unhealthy. I think most of us can agree that, short term and long term. Okay, it can massively affect your appetite, so you could overeat or undereat. So you may end up gaining weight if you go into calorie surplus. But remember, you can override your hormones. Just because your hormones have been released, you don't have to buy into them. You don't have to let them control you. Okay. So stress, we need to reduce that, but be aware that it's not stress that actually makes you gain weight or lose weight. It's your associated behaviors with that. All right. Right, who have we got coming on? Oh, we've got X Girls XYZ Best Adult Dating Site. Okay, welcome. I'm not sure that's applicable for this. Let's have a look. Look at this. Best Adult Dating Site. Yeah. Nah, probably not. Probably won't. Why are you on here? Anyway. All right, let's look at sex and testosterone, the final part of what we're covering, and is indeed in my PDF that I'm more than happy to give you guys a copy. So I call the hormone testosterone the daddy, the king, because it's the king of all kings when it comes to hormones in our body, because testosterone builds muscle, burns fat, it optimizes your mood, general health, regulates disease risk, and keeps lead in your pencil, guys. Keeps lead in your pencil. We need it. Now, as we age, T levels drop quite significantly. And over the age of 40, we have to minimize and maximize what we have. But there's loads of things we can do. There's loads of things that we can do before we even need to look at TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy. So before we even go there, okay, and that is an important part of potentially what I can help people with. There's loads of things that we can do to boost testosterone, maximize testosterone, okay? But we absolutely need it. And for the odd woman that might see this presentation, don't think that the testosterone is only for guys. Women need it as well. So it's very, very important as well. And what I'm talking about is actually very relevant. So look, here's my top 10 things to do to boost and maximize your testosterone. The first one, lift heavy weights 3 or 4 times a week, okay? And focus that lifting of weights around what I call the compound exercises. Compound exercises are exercises that use 2, 3, 4, sometimes even more muscle groups at a time. For example, a squat, typical under the bar squat is going to use actually every muscle in the body, but primarily glutes, hamstrings, quads, calves, lower back, upper back, core. There's the main muscle groups throughout the whole. It doesn't work much of your shoulders and arms, biceps and triceps, but pretty much every muscle in the body is used by doing a squat. Similarly with a deadlift. So compound movement is going to boost testosterone. The more muscle mass you can do in one movement, the more testosterone is going to be raised. Okay, first thing, lift heavy weights. Second thing, sleep 6 to 8 hours a night. We've talked about sleep and how it regulates appetite, but it also massively regulates your hormone production, testosterone being one of them. Okay, minimize stress levels. That's the main thing. And reduce or eliminate alcohol entirely. Look, let's get this straight. Having a few drinks a couple of nights of the week, it's not going to harm your testosterone too much. It's definitely not going to stop you losing body fat. But if you're drinking 5, 6, 7 drinks or more in a sitting, your testosterone will be considerably lower the next morning. If we were to test it, if we were to run your blood in the lab, it would be lower. If you're doing that every night, it's going to affect it. It's going to affect it, which is going to affect your ability to burn body fat, to build muscle, and all the other things we've talked about as well. So a reduction of alcohol is definitely needed. If someone's drinking a lot and it's causing problems in their life on various levels, maybe an elimination of alcohol is needed entirely. Okay, but keeping your alcohol down is definitely going to boost your T levels. Now let's talk about diet. What can you do in your diet? You need to eat a diet rich in quality fats, and that saturated fat is one of the best things, and essential fatty acids, so omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9s. Olive oil, salmon, anchovies are going to get you essential fatty acids, things like that. Fantastic for boosting T levels. Get some sun. It's not happening in the UK at the moment. It's cold, it's dark, it's miserable, it's raining. But sun or supplement with vitamin D. If you live in the UK or Northern Europe, you should definitely be supplementing with vitamin D on a daily basis. You just cannot get what we need from a diet, and keeping those vitamin D levels topped up is going to boost your testosterone. There's other things we could add in there, like avoid pollution, smoking, pollution outside, avoid BPAs and estrogenic compounds in cleaning products, Tupperware, things like that. Great thing to have to boost testosterone is actually have sex. I know it's a chicken before the egg. By having more sex, or having some sex, as the case may be, more sex is going to boost your testosterone. High testosterone, you tend to want to have sex more, tend to have more sex. So it's almost like the opposite of a vicious circle, a positive circle. Everything's going up. And daily laughter. Laughing on a daily basis has been proven to boost testosterone. All right, there's some great tips for boosting testosterone. So look, guys, there's the 5 main areas that I look at in my coaching. And this is what's helping me achieve fantastic results for my clients. On average, people are losing 27 pounds a month, 27 pounds in a 12-week period. Okay, on average, some people are losing a lot more. So there's those 5 main areas. And I said before, if you want a copy of that cheat sheet that I mentioned before, please go email me, drop me a line, hello@gavgillibrand.com. I'm going to leave this on the screen here. If you want a free copy, please email me. Some of the stuff I've said is in that cheat sheet. Some of you already have that, but I'll get that to you, and you can take a look at that. And if you want to book a call with me, I'll leave this on the screen as we wrap up, come up to 45 minutes, which is what I planned. Go ahead to gavgillibrand.com/apply. If you want some more help with this, look, information's one thing, but application of that information is going to get you the results. If you're struggling with your weight, if you've tried everything before, if you're not sure you can lose weight, if you think it's your genetics, if you think it's your big bones, if your self-esteem shot to bits, if your confidence is down, if you're self-sabotaging, you lose 20 pounds and then gain it, this is the call for you. Free of charge, nothing to sell on this call. So go ahead, book your free 15-minute body diagnostics call, guys. gavgillibrand.com/apply. Let me know if you need any more help with this, guys. You can go to gavgillibrand.com, check out my website, check out some of the testimonials. Let's have a look at these testimonials. 25 pounds, 27, 37, 26, 20, 27, 24, 21, 32, 32, 28, 42. I haven't actually got the record, but the record fat loss in a 12-week period is by Gary. Finished with me about 6 weeks ago. He lost 49.5 pounds in a 12-week period, which is just phenomenal. There's testimonials go on and on and on, guys. So look, I thank you for being with me tonight. Appreciate that. Hope you learned a lot. Book your free call with me. gabgillibrand.com/apply if you want some one-to-one call with me. If you want a free copy, please email me at hello@gabgillibrand.com. And look, I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. If I don't speak to you before then, I shall be taking a couple of days off over Christmas and New Year. I'll be on LinkedIn as always. Between then, speaking to clients, helping people lose weight. There's a lot of people who have just joined my program. There's been about 10 people in the last 2 weeks who joined my program, ready to crack on into the new year. Look, book a call, guys, and I'll see you on that call. If not, I'll see you on LinkedIn very soon. All the best.